If this makes me a poser, what should I do with my copy?
Terminate with extreme prejudice.
Oh, hi there. My name's Jorge. I grew up in the 80s and I used to love getting into trouble. I have always been a friend of felines. I am an avid playing card collector and card magic enthusiast. I take my faith very seriously, attending college at a Christian school, and I've been a music fan my entire life. Recently finding out I really like extreme metal, and I want to invite you to journey with me on my discovery of extreme metal. What is up, folks? Welcome back to A Christian Collects Death Metal. It's your pal Jorge here. Thanks for stopping by once again. Welcome back. My friends, today we will be discussing my own personal private black metal beginner starter kit, what have you. If someone were to ask me, man, this black metal, I'm interested. What are some albums you recommend? I would give them these 5 albums. This very easily could have been a top 20, what have you. It's not really a top anything list. It's just, just like a normal starter pack. These are albums that were there for me in the beginning, albums that I feel are important. And let me just say that this is a fine album, right? But as far as a beginner in black metal, the only acceptable starting place is early 90s Scandinavian, true Norwegian black metal. That is the only appropriate, the only acceptable starting point. There is one exception on this list, but yeah, I mean, this is accessible. It's well produced, it's refined, super produced and extra edited, I don't know, but it's definitely accessible. But it's not on this list, that's for sure. This is, your exposure to black metal should always be that early stuff. It's only right. Like I said, there's one exception. And once a person, gets a grasp of the true essence, the true feeling of black metal, then they can sort of branch out and discover stuff like Sunbather if they want to. But it's only right that you start where it all began. I'm not talking about, for me anyway, the first wave, so no Bathory, no Celtic Frost, stuff like that. That's just that's more first wave. My main concern is second wave stuff. Coming in at number 5, hailing from Oslo, Norway, a band that formed in 1993. They had a demo and then this full length, which is none other than Over Bergtat. Now, could I have went with Vargnat or even the more raw Nattens Madrigal? Probably, yeah, I think it could be argued that, but I think this is the best starting place simply because the production is a little bit better. And let me just say that this list is progressively, it gets progressively more raw, more true cult as we go down the line. So we're just starting off easy, okay? This is folk type black metal. There's still an aspect of rough production here, but it sounds good. Nothing like what would come later with Nattens Madrigal, right? So this is a great entry point. It sounds good. It's a classic for a reason. When you hear that riff, down, 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 right? I mean, wow. Classic. So, number 5, Bergtat by Ulver. So, coming in at number 4, we have a band from Sweden. This release is from 1996. We have some melodic black metal. Now, I don't know your feelings on melodic death metal, black metal, what have you. I'm not the biggest fan, but there are a few that I do enjoy. When it comes to melodic anything, there's just this weird sense of something being cheapened. That's not the case with some, at least in my humble opinion. I do like a few, but the ones who really do it justice, I think, are these guys right here. This is Vinterland, Welcome My Last Chapter. Like I said, 1996, trying to get the glare off there. I guess I could take it out of this case. Anyway, yeah, this is the only full length these guys ever did. And it's a really good one. It's a classic for a reason. They had a couple demos leading up to this. This is their one and only full length. And great melodic black metal. Is a great entry level. We're still in accessible territory, right? But this was there, at the beginning, back in the early 90s, and it was there for me as well. And I would definitely suggest this to anybody who's interested in black metal. So, coming in at number 3, we have the most modern of the bunch. This band formed in 2000, and this specific record, 2015. So, like I said, this is the only modern album on the list. It's Mogwai, however you pronounce that. Exercises in Futility. Yeah, this is like mid-pace sort of black metal that goes off the rails here and there. You got the cover, the blind man groping about in the dark. This is some occultic reference that I'm not all the way sure. I don't know if it's Goetian or what, but anyway, yeah, phenomenal album. As far as modern black metal, well, it's a decade old, but yeah, it's classic. It is quickly rose to that status, and for good cause. Phenomenal album. Themes of misanthropy, nihilism. I think the title of the album says it all. So this is just a great introduction for anyone, in my opinion. One of the first for me, for sure. And the production, it's still, you never want black metal to be super refined ever, right? I don't even like that in death metal, to be honest. And so, yeah, there's this aspect, there's this balance of decent production, and yet still that black metal, rough, raw feel to it. And it just works so well with these guys. Coming in at number 2, this is a solo project. This might be the one album that might land me in some warm water. I don't know. I just have to call it how I see it. This guy, he started in 1996. Some of you probably already know who I'm talking about. Yeah, had just almost a multitude of demos and a couple full lengths leading up to this one. But as far as it's an introduction to this man's material, I think that Philosophem would be a great start. We're talking about Burzum, right? So I think this is his third full length. You could argue, I guess, maybe the self-titled, but this is just the perfect blend of, this is pretty raw. This is a pretty rough listen. There's a lot of repetitive bits. There's some, I guess, what you would consider proto dungeon synth on the back half of this album. This is a double LP, by the way. And it's only acceptable to listen to any album, in my opinion, from start to finish. But I think this one you could argue is top heavy, but a lot of the droning atmospheric sections, it's atmospheric throughout. This is raw atmospheric black metal, but you could say it's top heavy, right? The first disc is really the one to, I guess, pay attention to. Some would say. I think you should listen to it from start to finish, right? Yeah, I mean, it's just a classic for a reason, and you could argue that the gentleman behind this project, Varg, what he did to Euronymous, the 90s church arson crimes, it's a rough individual, and I don't hold that against him because he was young at the time, and in the words of Meat Canyon, when he did a video on black metal, it was sort of a big pissing contest. And though I don't agree with, obviously, the things that he did by any stretch, I can appreciate the music and I can acknowledge it for what it is. It's great atmospheric black metal and a great entry point into this project. Coming in number one, I forgot to mention Burzum. They're from Norway. So is number one, my favorite of the list. These guys started way back in 1987. They had death metal beginnings. In fact, their first release was a death metal album, right? Before they had some conversations with a certain Mayhem member, and they went a different direction, a black metal direction. We're talking about Darkthrone, Under a Funeral Moon. You know, this is the one I think a beginner should listen to, because now I guess Blaze in the Northern Sky, this I could have very well picked this, but the reason I didn't pick Panzerfaust or Transylvanian Hunger is because that's still, it's just super stripped down and super harsh and difficult. And even though this is too, this is very much raw, about as raw as you could get, raw true cult Norwegian black metal. There's still some traces of warmth as far as low end in this album. You can still pick up on some bass here and there, whereas in the later entries it just gets less and less. And you know, I just think the riffs, the songs are more memorable on this album. That's my own personal opinion. Darkthrone is a beloved band. This is part of their unholy trinity, and I would argue unholy quartet with the inclusion of Panzerfaust in 1995. This came out in 93, by the way. So, Under a Funeral Moon, Darkthrone, that's my number one album as far as a starter kit. There you have it. As far as entry-level albums, black metal, let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to what you know, it could be a lot of albums here. Gorgoroth, Mayhem, Dissection, like I said earlier. Let me know what you think. Let me know exactly what you think. Do you agree with my picks? Do you disagree? What would you include? I'm super curious. Jorge, a Christian who collects death metal, signing off. Be blessed.